Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Grow Wealthy Grooming. I am your host, River Lee. Thank you so much for being here today. We're going to be talking a little bit about purchasing a salon. I know we can get into purchasing a grooming business in general, but I think let's stay with a salon specifically, just because it gets rid of those other added things like a van and the payments and things like that. And when I say a salon, I also mean this is purchasing the business, not necessarily the land and all of that. So let's talk about it. If you were to purchase a grooming salon, how much should you pay? What should you do? Now, first I'm going to say I'm a groomer just like you. So let me just tell you from my personal experience and what I've learned talking not only for when I sold my salon, but when I talk to others that sell their salon, and also as I go to more and more business conferences outside the grooming industry, I also get a very different perspective. So let's begin first with how much is it worth? Often in certain businesses, you'll hear that a business is worth 2 to 3 times profit. Now, some people believe that's gross profit, and what gross profit is all of the money your business takes in. Net profit is all the money your business takes in after it's paid all of its expenses. Now, depending upon the business, these can be wildly different. If I were to tell you something, I would tell you to make sure you are paying net profit. The reason for that simply is, let's be honest, if I took in $100,000, I could be paying $80,000 worth of bills. That business is only earning $20,000 a year. It wouldn't make any sense to pay $200,000 for a business if it's only going to make me $20,000 a year. So let's start with that. The other question you have to ask yourself is, are you buying a business or are you buying someone's job? A lot of salons are a one groomer owner salon, and that gets very tricky. So if let's say I'm a one groomer owner salon and I learned online and then I learned at Petco or I learned by myself. My style is going to be very different than your style. So because of those differences, you need to buy it from a salon, if you were to buy the salon, or even sell the salon to somebody who's going to mimic your style. And that can take a little bit. So if you have somebody, let's say, who is going to sell you a salon and their style is very different than yours, the likelihood that those clients are going to stay is slim to none. Now, they could have pictures of every dog, but you would have to change your style to match theirs, which is not always the easiest. I'm not saying discourage anyone from buying it, but that's one thing you need to think about. So pricing wise, let's say you say, okay, I want to buy a salon and they're selling it for, let's throw out a nice easy number, $50,000. I'm like, okay, how much is the actual equipment worth? So if I walked into that grooming salon, how many cage banks do they have? How old are they? What condition are they in? Have they been cleaned regularly? Are they broken? If they're broken, can they be repaired? Does it include their grooming equipment? Does it include the clippers and the blades and the scissors? Probably not. Most groomers are going to take that with them. What fixtures do they have? Who made them? What quality are they in? If they're homemade and they're made of wood, did they seal them properly? Are they bolted to the floor? Let's say they opened it up 4 or 5 years ago and everything was brand new. Now you want to evaluate that equipment. Like, okay, if I took that and I put it on Craigslist, how much money would I get for that? That's a very tough question to ask because it's not really straightforward, is it? And so what you're buying for that equipment is not based on the brand new value. It's based on Craigslist or what's called fire sale values. And because of that, you really have to be careful. So let's say I have $50,000 worth of equipment and I'm selling my salon for $50,000. It's not actually $50,000 worth of equipment, is it? Because if you close, I could probably buy that equipment from you for about $8,000, which is terrible, but it's the truth. There are very few items in the grooming industry that hold its value. I use a Caddyshack vac, which is a little glass container that you can blow dry cats in. That holds its value very well. So now that we've looked at, the equipment, and let's say your grooming styles are very similar. So the equipment, grooming style similar, perfect. If they are the one groomer owner, you have to assume you're going to be taking down all the rules. And let's say they're saying, okay, they say, I'm selling the salon for $50,000. I net, remember this is after expenses, $50,000 a year. Okay. But did they account for them being paid as an employee? So if they paid them as an employee, whatever pay rate you would want to pay your employees, ideally that would be hourly. If it's not hourly, it would be a commission-based. And would that commission-based be, it should be 30% or less. So if you were to hire someone to do that instead of you, how much money would they have made? And sometimes they actually would have lost money had they been paying an employee, and not just an employee. Like, let's say if you have a groomer who's selling a salon for $50,000 and they're like, yeah, I do 14 dogs a day. Can you do 14 dogs a day? If I am going to buy a salon where someone's numbers are inflated because they are Wonder Groomer and they're burnt out now from doing 14 dogs a day, those numbers are going to be skewed. Okay, so let's say they only do 5 to 7 dogs a day. They're netting $50,000 a year. They're willing to just take a year's worth of salary to buy it. Great. That sounds all well and good. what is the likelihood these clients are going to stay? Now, that's another question. Again, because of style differences, personality differences, are they pricing properly? Are they a $35 Yorkie place or are they a $75 Yorkie place? What do you want to be? Is their branding the same way you want your branding? Are the colors the same? Are clients not going to like it once you paint the room? Sometimes clients can be that way. They may not like the branding of it. And if they don't like the branding, there's not much you can do about that. So let's go back again to if you're going to purchase the salon. $50,000, they net $50,000. We're not going to talk about best practices and how they pay themselves. Let's say they just take an owner draw and they're okay on their taxes. They don't lie on their taxes. Well, great. But couldn't you just get a job making $50,000 a year? I mean, think about that. How much easier would it be to just get a grooming job making $50,000 a year? If they are working, let's say 5 days a week, grooming 5-6 dogs a day to earn $50,000, not only are they just paying themselves, let's say that 50% commission, they are also going to be paying higher taxes than if you're a W-2 employee. You are going to have issues where you're the only person. So when you're purchasing a salon, you want to make sure you are buying a business that you are going to grow and not necessarily just a job you're going to keep. If you have a job that you essentially buy, what's going to happen is now you have debt or you invested money into a job. Imagine walking up to your employer and saying, boy, I really want to make $50,000 a year. And they're like, okay, but first you have to give me $50,000. And you're like, sold. And making $50,000 as a groomer is not uncommon. I know a lot of people think it is uncommon, but a lot of that's because we're not actually keeping track of our money. Think about it this way. If I have a business that I've purchased and it is, essentially just me, how much money would I have had to invest to simply open up? Also, when you're purchasing a salon, they're going to be leaving. Not necessarily the nicest thing to do, but a lot of times if that person can't sell that salon, they're going out of business anyway. And that landlord is going to need someone to fill that space. When you're purchasing a business, you have to say, okay, is this a standalone business? Does this run itself? Am I buying an asset that is going to generate income without much effort? Or am I purchasing a job that I'm going to have to work? Perfect example. I was talking to somebody who had purchased a Massage Envy franchise. Yes, it's up to them to make sure everything is running and rocking and rolling. However, they have massage therapists, they have anestheticians for facials, they have receptionists, they have an assistant manager and a manager. So all they have to do is come in once a week to make sure everything's running smoothly. They bought an established running business that is going to generate money whether or not they are there. And too often groomers are buying somebody else's used salon and their job. You are again better off working for somebody making 50 grand a year or even $35,000 a year and saving up cash to open up your own shop or going mobile and knowing what you really want in life. If that shop closed, how much money is the assets actually worth? Fire sale, because it's not going to be new. Even if it's 6 months old, it's been used, it's been peed on, it's been pooped on. How much is the clientele list worth? Is this clientele an every 2 to 4 week clientele and they're paying an average of $65 a ticket? Clients that are easy and low maintenance, they're not equal. If I buy 1,000 clients that are religiously 2-week bath, 4-week haircut, religiously low maintenance 5-strip haircuts, super easy, or am I purchasing an every 8 to 12 week clients that are all hand scissor doodles that come in matted and don't want to pay extra? Which clientele am I buying? And that means how much effort it is. Ideally, when you're purchasing a salon, you should be able to be working with that person who you're purchasing from for about 6 months. A, to get your styles to mesh together, and B, to make sure that clientele likes you and you like them. So when you buy it, you have to decide how that's going to be. Yes, having an established clientele is a lot easier to start with than not having a clientele. And hopefully you're going to do your research when you purchase a salon to make sure all of these things are exactly that. But it's really hard to know. Nobody wants to talk bad about each other. Nobody's going to tell the nitty-gritty of things. So when you're purchasing a salon, you're investing in a position. If you want to do it the right way would be, in a perfect world, this salon would be somewhere you've worked at for at least 3 to 6 months. You know the ropes, you like the salon, you like the clientele likes you like the amount of money they're charging, you like the branding of that business, you like the way they've marketed in the past, and essentially you're like, I love this business so much, I'm willing to buy it. That is the perfect thing. Pricing wise, I would not pay personally more than 1 year's net profit after the salon has paid a full staff groomer and a manager. Okay, if I had paid a $15 an hour employee 40 hours a week, how much money is that? And then how much actual profit would there be if they were gone? And you might say, well, that's silly. Why wouldn't you just need a groomer? Because the whole point of it, like there's no business out there. People that own businesses don't always have to manage their business. The whole point of owning a business is that way you own the asset. It's an asset. It generates money. This stuff should be able to run itself. Now, you're going to be there because that's part of the fun of owning a business. That's perfectly fine. But if not, you're better off taking that $50,000 and just putting it in stocks, putting it in a savings account. You're not going to lose money if you just put it in a savings account making 2%. Sometimes it'll make you more money than owning a grooming salon. So assume you're going to hire a manager, assume that you're going to buy this business with that. And when you hear somebody buying that kind of business, if you are going to run a business with multiple groomers, either you are going to have to be the manager and not be grooming, or you're going to have to hire someone to manage your staff. There's just too much going on. You want to make sure your quality's up, things like that. A manager's so important. And the beautiful thing is there's enough groomers in the industry who have been grooming for 20, 25 years, who are ready to step down from grooming and step up to a fantastic manager role. If you do want to own a one-person salon, then you really have to look at how much money you would make as an employee. And if you told me, well, I could probably get a job making $50,000 a year, then I would say, why would you buy a grooming salon if you have no intention of having employees for $50,000 to make the same as being an employee? As an employee, you could just go home when you're done and you're not risking that money. So think about that for a second. And I know that's not a very popular opinion, but that's a very real option. And then if you're saying, no, I really want to grow and have 2 or 3 employees, and I'm like, okay, so you're going to work for yourself. In the business, is there space for that? Do you have more money to reinvest in 2 or 3 years to grow to that business? What is your goal for that? And you have to know if there's enough meat on the bone in your business to be able to pay somebody. Because if you take, let's say, your average $50 dog, your groomer's gonna get, let's say, $15 to $20 per that dog to keep it around 30%. Okay, well, are they gonna groom 2 small dogs an hour? Probably not, but your groomer wants to make $40 an hour. How are you going to figure that out? You may have to raise your prices or, figure that out because you've got to keep your payroll below 30%. And a lot of times we're so used to just paying ourselves and taking what we can get that we don't actually do the math to figure out if we can hire employees. So there's a lot of factors that go into that. And you have to ask yourself, do you really want the stress and the pressure of employees? There's so much work. And if you're going to sell your business, you have to actually look at yourself and say, how much is my business actually worth? Is my business used equipment and my clientele that I mostly love, but they drive me crazy? Or do you have a solid business plan? Do you have an employee handbook? Even if you don't have any employees, you should have an employee handbook. If you got hurt, hand someone something that tells them how to do everything in your salon. When you make phone calls, do you have scripts for that? Do you have a way of everything you do and why you do it? And that's going to be really important. There's a great book called The E-Myth, and it explains why systems are so incredibly important. They create so much continuity in your business, and it allows everything to just run smoothly. So I'm not saying don't buy a business. I'm not saying don't sell your business. What I am saying is question what you're purchasing, question how much it's worth, and make sure you're actually going through all of that and it's going to be a good buy. And if you can use a broker, it's a great option. It is going to cost you money, just same as a real estate agent would, but it's going to also save you a lot of sanity. It's going to catch if someone's lying about how much money they make. Because a lot of times we just assume people are sweet and honest and caring and truthful, and they're not. If you're the kind of person that anything in cash goes in your pocket and everything on the card gets reported. Unfortunately, when you do that, when you go to sell the business, and you say, yeah, we earned $200,000 last year. And they go, yeah, we only see 80. And you're like, no, the other 120 is in cash. You can't prove it. So that can always bite you in the ass too. Again, I really think the best person to buy a salon is a groomer or an investor who has been at that salon for at least 3 to 6 months. If you're going to buy a business as an investor instead of a groomer, then hopefully either that groomer is looking to just sell and work as an employee. That's a great scenario because then you've got a passionate groomer who realizes they bit off more than they can chew, who a clientele already loves, and they're going to just take a salary. That is a salon that you could grow, and that would be great. But as far as like you taking over someone's job, a one-person salon, it's really not uncommon. But I remember there was somebody saying, but when a new owner takes over a grooming business, you're going to lose about an average of 30% of clients, which is a lot because you don't know if it's 30% of all clients or is that 30% of their clientele was the good every 2 to 4 week clients. Again, it depends upon that clientele. And you want to make sure that their clientele, again, fits your needs. And do I think that buying a salon is a great idea? Yes, in the right instance. For the most part, you're going to get more bang for your buck doing the, unfortunately, a little bit shady thing of waiting it out, because if they can't sell the shop, now you can just take over the lease or sign your own lease. Can you get a long lease? If you're buying a shop for, let's say, $50,000, I would want a 5 or 10 year lease, because let's say in 2 years they go to sell the building. Now what? They spent $50,000 and now you have to go take your clientele, move them to a new place, do an entire new build out, but you still owe that money. Now you paid $50,000 for a job for 2 years and you got relocated. And there are benefits of buying places like purchasing property with a business, grooming salons at someone's home. I think those are done right. They're a great option because you're going to spend the money already on the rent and it's going to go right to the house. However, if you buy property, you're going to run a grooming salon, that gets a little more tricky because taxes are higher, all these things. So, you could potentially pay for a grooming salon, buy the property, you own your own job, and you have to pay not just for the business, we also have to pay for the property tax of the business. But I hope this was insightful for you guys. But I want to thank you so much again for joining me today with Go Wealthy Grooming. As usual, I am River Lee. If you guys are interested, you can check out my website. My website is www.savvygroomer.com. I do an online course called Personal Finance Unleashed, which is an online course teaching people specifically groomers, how to get their money on a leash and get it all under control. We make such good money, but we just spend it. But anyway, guys, I will see you next week. And I hope I had answered the questions you guys had. And yeah, if I need to do a secondary video to talk more in depth, I would love to do that for you guys. All right. Happy grooming.